going nowhere.
Then there's no. I'm looking at you, Jim.
I'm gonna hear the name and I'm gonna get PTSD.
But the cream will rise to the top. Oh yeah.
Oh yeah. Oh yeah, I don't have my Macho Man shirt on this week, but brother, let me tell you, I gotta talk about the dominance of Connor McDavid, brother. That man must be snapping into Slim Jims before every game. Oh yeah. But now that I'll stop talking like Macho Man because that has to happen for me on a daily basis. Connor McDavid is he's incredible. I was watching First Things First, Tim and Friends on Sportsnet. I was watching it on YouTube, and they were talking about Connor McDavid and how what he's doing is on a Gretzky and Lemieux type level. And Connor McDavid, on his current pace, is on pace for 155 points. He would be the fourth player in NHL history to achieve that mark, the sixth to achieve the 150-point mark, if this was a full 82-game season and he continued at this pace. And there's no reason to believe that he couldn't do that over an 82-game season at this point. I think we're seeing the most talented and skilled player that we've ever seen, like Anthony said before. I know I've made several references to it. They also brought up the argument that what if McDavid wins a scoring trophy by the way that he wins it, the next highest scorer that's not an Edmonton Oiler is, I think, 35 points behind McDavid at this point. So we're looking at the type of pacing and outscoring that we haven't seen since Gretzky and Lemieux. They brought up the 1989 season, and the way that McDavid is scoring at is absolutely comparable to what Gretzky and Lemieux were doing back then. And another little tidbit, it's funny because the North actually isn't the highest scoring division in the NHL. It's the East. By a small percentage, but it's the East. And they were talking about goals per team and goals per game. If you scale it properly, it is comparable to what they were doing back then. And it's astonishing to look at the actual numbers. So, what were once seemingly unattainable numbers are now looking like they're within reach. And that's why I think Connor McDavid, when it comes down to it, when it's all said and done, is going to be considered a top 5 player of all time. I'm calling it right now. You can call me crazy, but top 5. I don't think we've ever seen, I don't know if we're going to see dominance like this for a long, long time afterwards. So, I never thought that we could see somebody doing what he's doing right now. I get people are going to say, well, he has Draisaitl with him. Do you think Leon Draisaitl would really be doing what he's doing right now without Connor McDavid? Because I don't. And I would be hard-pressed to find many who would. So, if we'll ever see another player like this for a long time, I don't know. But we're watching sheer dominance and greatness right now. And it's the perfect time for it, considering the ESPN contract that's coming up and the TNT contract as well. So this is the perfect time. This is the perfect time to take Connor McDavid and fire the bandwagon up and just start advertising the hell out of him, because he has to be the poster child for this league going forward on these new TV deals to get them closer to where they want to be with the other 3 sports leagues. So what we're seeing is something truly special.
So, by the way, just to make sure, you're saying market Connor McDavid and not Andrew Ferentz.
Not Tom Wilson. Start punishing guys like Tom Wilson for doing the things that they do to star players. And not Andrew Ferentz, you're right. Big mistake.
Like the TNT mistake.
The TNT mistake, sorry.
Yeah. But no, the Tom Wilson thing, that's true too. Look, McDavid is on another planet, on everything. I am both regretful that he's in Edmonton and happy that he's at Edmonton. I like him in the traditional market. I like it that he can never be the best player in that franchise history, because there's a couple ahead of him already. But imagine if he was in New York.
Oh,
But then again, imagine if the Rangers won the lottery. I would love to live in the parallel world where the Rangers hit the lottery for Sidney Crosby, and Henrik Lundqvist has 5 Stanley Cups.
Well,
because
that would have
Sidney
happened because
Crosby on his team.
Bronick had to run his big mouth off a few days before that draft.
Yeah, well, they should have. They should have put him on the Rangers.
Sorry.
Should have done it anyway. Anthony, your thoughts on Connor McJesus?
The one thing that's always impressed me about him, which are many, is that the speed in which he could go and his hands can still keep up with how fast he's doing. Because it's one thing to, dangle around people and stuff, but to do it at the speed he skates and just do it smoothly and seamlessly is just amazing. I mean, you never really see that from anybody. And the guy's just explosive. I mean, he's dangerous in every area of the ice, and it's not like he's just like a good, passer. He could also score goals too. I mean, he'd probably have more goals if he didn't have someone like Leon Draisaitl on his team who's like a goal scorer. So it's the guy can do it all. The only thing I'll say is kind of mark up. I mean, I think it would be so good for the league if he was on a team, say like the Rangers or even like the Blackhawks. Like he was a Chicago Blackhawk original 6 team. Any of those teams, the Boston Bruins. It would be great for the league. He would be more well known than he is, but he plays, in Siberia, and unfortunately, he's not a household name. But he should be a household name because in my opinion, he's the most talented player across all 4 sports. In my opinion, he's that good, and the Oilers are blessed to have him. And I think that the Oilers need to do a better job shaping their team so they're not so reliant on him. Not that I see it happening, but you never know. The guy, keeps losing in the first round of the playoffs, or if there's any more years he misses it, he could get frustrated. And boy, wouldn't that be a story if Connor McDavid ever requested a trade? You would literally have every single team in the National Hockey League calling up the Oilers. My only caveat to that is for what it would take to give up for him. I feel like you would just gut your team completely, and then he'd be in the same situation he was in Edmonton. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
Like. It would be.
You would never be able to get fair value.
No. But it would take the plus 92 return all over again to get him, and that's. And I don't know I don't even know if you can do that anymore because of the cap itself. I'm not even talking about being able to trade cash financially because we haven't been able to do that for a while. But I think the salary cap would prevent that from happening. So, I
mean, the best, like off the top of my head, just real quick, like the best, obviously with the cap, it's not being a thing right now, but the best thing I could think of is like McKinnon, Rantanen, Makar, Gerard, and like multiple first-round picks. But
if you're talking about like a guy like McKinnon, it's going to be a lot closer, and you're going to need a lot less. But there's still going to have to be an add on top of somebody like McKinnon to get McDavid.
Yeah,
Well,
but
before
he's
we even-
unbelievable.
Before I even get to, because Anthony, thank you. You actually posed a great question to close us out. But before I get into that, you guys know that McDavid this entire season did not care about getting to 100 points. It was something that the media seemed to gravitate to and want to. McDavid, it wasn't even a thought in his mind. He never addressed it in press conferences. His teammates did. That was something that was interesting. Like, there were guys that were like, yeah, we want to see him get to 100 points. That says what they think about the guy.
But that's also just a part of his personality, and it was something I was going to say before. I mean, I know I've used this analogy to describe him, but he's like driving on the Southern State in a Lambo at like 155 and seeing the road like he's a Camry at 55. Like, there's no other way that I can think of to describe the things he could do with the speed that he does them with. And not only that, but do you ever see him sweat heavily? Because I don't think I could ever recall a time that I can't. His skating is just so effortless. And I know that I've said Matt Barzal is the only guy that I can really think of that overall in terms of skating really holds the candle to him in all facets. But Connor, his burst is just that much better than Barzal's, even though Barzal's edge work is probably the best I've ever seen. But Connor is just effortless in everything he does, and it doesn't surprise me that he just didn't even think about it. He's just like, he goes out there and just gets it done. It's like clockwork for him. It's not something he has to think about.
So Anthony said in his reply right there, he's the most talented player in all sports, all the team sports. And if you're watching, of course, you saw Filk and I both look up in the corner of our eyes to think, oh, hey, is he right?
Well,
Mike Trout comes to mind. Pat Mahomes comes to mind. He who shall not be named in the NBA shall come to mind. The mercenary of all mercenaries, the guy that came from Ohio. I have to go with McDavid, man. I mean, he's got all the talents of Sidney Crosby, and he does it faster. That's what's shocking.
Funny enough, you mentioned that. There was a picture that I posted on Twitter, and I saw it from somebody else, and some of the entries on there were a little weird. Like Mika Rantanen was on there. I found that kind of weird, but I guess I could see why. But it was the top 25 athletes under the age of 25. Not 25 and under, but the top 25 under 25. And McDavid was number one. Like Saquon Barkley was on there, Mika Rantanen was on there, a whole bunch of other guys were on there. Some of the orders I posted on my timeline if anybody wants to take a look at 92 and 82. 92 at IN 82. And then if I was looking at it and I was thinking to myself, these guys are all great, but Connor McDavid is in his own universe compared to every other player that was on that list. I literally tweeted it out with the caption that said this should just be the top 25 athletes under the age of 25, not named Connor McDavid because he's in his own damn universe. Because he is. What other players started off their career like McDavid has in any sport? Aside from Mike Trout, who's not under 25 anymore, obviously.
Anthony, your thoughts on that?
Yeah, with other athletes like Patrick Mahomes, and you wanted to talk about the guy in the NBA shouldn't name. Don't get me wrong, they're fantastic athletes, but they're all playing a sport where you're on like your own natural feet on a solid ground. I mean, ice skating makes it so much harder in the realm of the sport. You're not just like walking and running on your own 2 feet. You're skating on skates with blades on it on the ice and like still doing athletic things. It's just, maybe hockey's my favorite sport. Maybe I'm a little biased, but to me that just sends everything else over the edge, pointing in McDavid's favor. He's that talented. He's that good, and who knows when we're gonna see another one come along like him. I mean, you could talk about Connor Bedard now because he's producing at a level in junior that not even McDavid did, which is a scary thing to think about. But I mean, could he be as good as McDavid? You don't know, because the numbers right now say that he's at that level. Who knows if he'll go on that trajectory? But I mean, wouldn't that be funny? Another guy named Connor ends up being a generational player. So we'll have to see. I mean, his draft is the 2023 draft, so he's still 2 more years way after this current one.
And here's the scary part about
it's going to be Owen Power.
The scary part about that draft is that the next Ovechkin has been touted as being in that draft, and Matvei Michkov. And you have 2 absolute potential generational studs like those 2 in the same draft. Oh man, you're going to have Ovechkin versus Crosby part 2 all over again.
Yeah, you might. I mean, realistically, you could say the next 3 first overall picks are going to be Owen Power, Shane Wright, Connor Bedard the next 3 years.
Yeah.
So. Well, we want to know, is Connor McDavid the best overall athlete in team sports? Does he have a peer? I mean, I do think Mike Trout is still right there with them as far as talent to their sport. I mean, Pat Mahomes, you can't say enough about Pat Mahomes. What you also can't say enough is his dad, former New York Met. All right, but we want to know what you think. Like it down below. And now it's time for On the Mark. Like that video? Of course you did. So why not check out some more of our content? You can check the playlist right here or right here.
Your ideas are intriguing to me, and I wish to subscribe to your newsletter.